Hello. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the endangered orchid species that are here in this Losing Paradise exhibit. One of the first ones that catches your eye because of the really unusual form of the plant itself is the Cypripedium japonicum from Korea. It's a very common plant in Japan, but in Korea it is indeed deeply endangered. There are only about 200 individuals left in the wild. It's got a very unique kind of leaf, sort of like an Elizabethan collar, and a truly amazing and unusual pouch-shaped flower that's used actually by the plant to manipulate insects into pollination. All the slipper orchids do that. Slipper orchids are terrestrial plants, and unlike a lot of the tropical orchids that we're used to that grow as epiphytes up in the trees, and because they're so easily accessible, people tend to dig them up, and that's one of the reasons why so many of them are so badly endangered. So this is one example. There's other problems that are going on with these populations, including a certain parasite that has been causing them not to bloom and causing them not even to come up from the surface in various botanic gardens throughout Asia. So indeed an endangered plant, and a very, very beautiful one, and it's great to bring that to everyone's attention. This is a very, very special plant to the Washington, D.C. area, even though the plant is from Vietnam. This is Paphiopedilum vietnamense. It was discovered about 18 or 20 years ago, even though I'm sure it had been growing in that habitat for hundreds of thousands of years. But when it was discovered, it was basically a new species of slipper orchids, and orchid people are crazy about slipper orchids because they're generally easy to grow, incredibly showy, just it's one of those things you can actually grow on a windowsill. Plus, the slipper orchid people tend to be a little bit more passionate about orchids than most of the rest of them. They get crazy, the slipper orchid people. Anyway, in a very, very limited area of Vietnam, when it was discovered, it created a sensation at the time. And an orchid company in Asia, dispatched lots and lots of local people, very impoverished people, to the area, a very, very small area where they grow in limestone substrate, sort of craggy limestone karstic environment where they're from, and basically denuded the whole place of every plant. Again, a very, very small area where they came from. And those plants were sold probably in many places throughout the world for a lot of money, even though the poor people that collected them didn't get much in return for their efforts. So as a result of that, these plants are now literally everywhere in the world where people grow orchids, except in their natural habitat, which is pretty much a tragic thing, I think. It's truly a gorgeous species, the variegated leaves, the gorgeous flowers. It really is a travesty that they're no longer in Vietnam. And then this amazing thing, this is a real orchid intrigue story, more so than you could possibly imagine from the plant. Again, a spectacularly beautiful flower, the likes of which no one had ever seen before. This is Phragmipedium kovachii, and it was recently discovered in Peru, which is where it's native to, and it turned out that there was a guy from Virginia, in fact, who visited Peru. He was an orchid fancier, orchid aficionado, and he passed by a roadside stand where a farmer was selling his wares and exotic plants. And he saw this plant at the roadside stand and realized it was completely new to horticulture, that it was not a hybrid, that it was a natural species, and got incredibly enthusiastic about it, and did something probably a little unwise. He smuggled it into the United States to get described at a botanic garden by some scientists who were equally enamored of it. It's such an amazing thing. It's so different from any other slipper orchid that had ever been found before, that they went ahead and published a paper naming the plant after this fellow, Kovacs, unfortunately, because this was all illegal activity, it all sort of came and blew up on them later on. The botanical garden responsible and Mr. Kovach too all sort of paid a legal price for this. Now, one thing that's very, very interesting is that the pink slipper orchid from Vietnam, which is of course hardly found there anymore, it's not there because probably the Vietnamese government didn't take as good a proactive step as they could have at the time to protect it. The Peruvian government, on the other hand, recognized this as a national treasure and has protected the plant both in the wild and in cultivation. We're only allowing a few growers in Peru to actually grow the plant that actually have the capability of doing it well. And now these plants are not only still surviving in Peru, but they're in cultivation throughout the world as a result of that wonderful proactive step by the Peruvian government.